Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for yet another episode in our ongoing new figure showcase series, where we take a quick look at a new release or a relatively new release that I'm adding into my collection. For today's installment, we're going to be taking a look at the deluxe Doc Ock by Hot Toys from Spider-Man No Way Home. To be honest, I think this has been the figure from the series that I've been most looking forward to getting. Not to detract from the Spideys or the Electro and Green Goblin, which were incredible releases in their own right, but there's just something about Doctor Octopus that always stood out, be it in the comics, in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, or even in this movie. So look, just like with Green Goblin, I always wondered whether or not Marvel could pull off bringing these characters back into the Tom Holland world and the MCU, and honestly I'm surprised at how well they did it, and I like the continuation of the redemption arc for Doc Ock from the Sam Raimi sequel. Yes, he's a villain, but a large part of that was always due to the AI from the arms kind of corrupting his mind, and it's nice to see first the realization he has on the bridge that he's not fighting the same Spidey, and ultimately his redemption at the end helping to fight off some of the other villains. And I have to give Marvel credit, or the VFX artist credit, for doing a really good job de-aging the actor a little bit, because it worked well. Now, figure-wise, I think there was only ever one other 6-scale version of Doctor Octopus, and that was the Toys Era one. I personally don't own that, so won't be comparing against it, but I do know a lot of collectors were posting on social media when that piece was released, commenting about how happy they were. And I believe Toys Era released a second run, although that one seemed to have a ton of issues, unfortunately mainly related to the arms. So for me, those were a pass. I was just trying to focus on MCU proper, so of course when these villains made their way into the universe, it was a no-brainer to pick them up at that point. So the version I have is the deluxe. There is a collector standard version that was also put up for pre-order. Key difference, the deluxe includes an extra set of mechanical tentacles with the red elements from the nanotech conversion scene, where they basically absorb the nanites from Peter's Iron Spider suit. As a funny aside, I was actually talking to a friend who got the standard because he had no interest in the red arms, and for me it was actually the opposite. I was definitely looking for those arms, so the deluxe was the way to go. But to his point, if you're not interested in the red arms, you could opt for that standard and save yourself about $30. So overall package, look, he's kind of light on accessories, to be honest. You get a set of hands, his sunglasses, and the spike for the tentacles, but just looking at the size of the mechanical arms, that's clearly the selling point of the set. And laid out on the table with the two sets together, you can just see how massive they are, and from a scale perspective, you can see how the figure is almost overshadowed by them. So again, simple package, but Doc Ock is all about those mechanical arms, at least for me. So let's jump into the accessories, and we'll start with the hands. As always, they look good, nothing crazy here at all. They're just gloved hands, and they're done well, right? You've got texturing to replicate the leather-like material, but also nothing that's standing out or insane, right? You get the standard relaxed hands on the figure, fists, splayed out hands for posing, and I will say my favorite is this fifth hand. It's pre-sculpted to hold the sunglasses. I always like trying to create that pose with figures, so having that hand is a nice touch. Next, you get the only two accessories. You get the sunglasses, and you get the spike that connects to the tentacle heads. So let's start with the glasses. Look, the green lenses are really nicely done, and I like the frame. It's a little on the unique side, but a good replica of the ones he wore on screen. Although I do think Hot Toys cheaped out might not be the right term, but they definitely modified the design, right, from the promo pictures. In the promo shots, the bridge of the glasses, they were shown as kind of two distinct pieces, and granted they would have been small and delicate, but that's what they showed. Final version is basically continued clear plastic from the lenses, and they just added some paint to replicate the wireframe. It works though, and might provide a more sturdy piece, so I'm not complaining too much. And then the spike itself is nicely done with some great detail work with the serrated edges and the slots. My only warning, just be careful. It seems delicate, and if you drop it or if it falls with the figure, it might snap and break. Now, we got to move on to the stars here, and without a doubt, those are the mechanical arms. So we'll start with the standard versions with the silver and yellow paint apps. And there's a lot to look at here, so first let's talk about the paint. It's phenomenal. And that is not an overstatement, right? It's just, looking at these in person, they look stunning. Silver in the links, everything is scuffed up and weathered, and the same is applied to the yellow portions. There's some almost dirty grease patches throughout, and the weathering carries on almost like the paint has just been scraped off at points. So it's a really nice bit of detail with that paint. Now the tips of the tentacles, you get two different versions that distinguish the lower arms from the uppers. The upper arms have the more pointed tip that actually opens on hinges and gives you a lot of play in how you want to display. And then you see the red at the center, which is where you would insert the knife accessory. Now the lower arms have a boxier head, similar mechanisms to articulate them, but just a more robust looking piece, which also makes sense as they do act as legs. So they would want to be stronger to hold up Doc Ock. Again, just amazing pieces. But what's really impressive here to me is the engineering. So when we got the advanced suit Spidey and the display base, we did get a tentacle that came with that, and that arm was basically a sculpted piece on a bendable wire. And look, it worked, right? It let you get some great poses, or at least I thought so. And I really assumed that was the mechanism we were going to be getting here in these arms. But Hot Toys actually did something completely different here, and they put some effort into these pieces. So each link is independent and connected to the next via a ball joint that is actually really sturdy, which is key to kind of hold poses. And at the three apexes of the triangle of the link, you get a spring-like connection. First of all, it just looks amazing when you see it, but it also keeps the arms in a decent position. Now, the second set of arms are basically identical from an engineering standpoint. Key difference is that every face of the link has the red chevron on it, and the heads have some slightly different detailing and red highlights resulting from the nanobots appropriately enough, taking over. And interestingly enough, those pieces aren't dirty, so it's a nice bit of attention to detail, and I just think they look incredible, and those were kind of the big sellers for me. Alright, next up you get the base, which is the standard hexagonal one, and I'm actually surprised because I would have assumed Hot Toys would have given us a more robust stand for both Doc Ock and Green Goblin, but they opted to go to the more standard base, and it works. And I do like one thing too on the top. They kind of ghosted in the image of Doc Ock, so I will be using this base. I usually try not to, but with this being a figure that you want to display with the arms, I'm going to have to use it. And for clarity, I actually do like that Hot Toys gave some thoughts to the placement of the flight pole relative to the arms, because everything is kind of designed so that the pole slots in between the arms, so it's a good bit of attention to detail to make sure that everything works the way it's supposed to. Alright, so now let's hit the controversial part of the figure, which is the sculpt. For me, I kind of judge sculpts on two aspects. First is the likeness there to the character and the actor, and two, as a sculpt, did the company do a good job with the detailing and the paint app? So let's start with the likeness, and I'll preface by saying this is just my opinion. There's just something off here, and I think it comes down to the eyes. With the sunglasses on, I think it's much more forgiving, and you can see a likeness to Alfred Molina. But just looking straight on without the glasses, I think the eyes are the issue. It almost feels like the Thena figure, and most sculpts that are off, if you get the eyes wrong, it just hurts the likeness 100%. And also the hair. I don't think it looks like it did in the movie. It was a little curlier, so I think that's another thing throwing the look off. Now, second category, it's a beautiful sculpt. Paintwork on the eyes is fantastic. Detailing on the skin with the wrinkles around the eyes, also amazing. And I do like the expression showing the teeth. I actually really like that Hot Toys is doing this more and more, and I do wish we had maybe gotten a neutral look, which might have helped the likeness a little bit, as well as this expression face. But from a detailing point of view, it's amazing. And from a likeness point of view, unfortunately, I hate to say that it's not there. It's not the worst sculpt I've seen by any means, but also not the best. Now, as far as the figure, even without the arms on, there's a lot to like here. First of all, he has two layers to the jacket with the overcoat and a leather jacket beneath, both having some wired elements to them for posing. Outer jacket is light and has some nice work done on it, while the inner layer just looks great with the zipper detailing, stitch work, tailoring on these is just incredible. Turtleneck too is really well done, and Hot Toys actually picked an interesting material that almost looks fleece-like. Everything here just looks awesome. Pants are basic cargo pants that have a nice fit on the figure. They almost look like dress pants as opposed to technical, and I think that fits Doc Ock well. And of course, the harness around his waist for the arms. It's molded plastic, but great paintwork to give it that detailed metallic shine, and also that nice detailing of some kind of a mechanism going on. And then on the back, you have the sockets for the arms, and I like the tears on the jacket to accommodate them, as well as the detailing on them. So great work overall. So at the end of the day, what do I think? Look, it's not a perfect figure. Biggest culprit is that sculpt. But like with every other piece from this line, I have him on my desk to put kind of together some notes for the review. And every time I sit down or walk by, I can't help but admire it. Fully assembled, the figure just has massive presence to it. And the mechanical arms, to me, they're works of art. The whole figure just looks impressive, and just be prepared for scale. The guy fully assembled is a big piece that takes up some space. Honestly, it's a shame because as I'm starting to consider my top pickups for the year, had the sculpt been better, this would have easily made it to the top of the list. It's that good. He might still sneak in there, not at the top position, but it's just so hard not to admire how stunning the piece is overall. And it comes down to those arms, right? Hot Toys killed it with them. The only other nitpick of sorts with the arms is the posing, so be careful. While there is a lot of posability there, the links are limiting a little bit because there's only so much you can manipulate these. And also because of the mechanism, you sometimes get these odd kinks where some of the links don't look as smooth in their transitions. It just takes a little patience to get them to look right, which is why I said it's just a little nitpick. Also be careful when socketing the mechanical arms into the back. It does take a little bit of pressure, but you don't want to force things or you're going to end up with a break. But again, just so much presence for this figure. I love it. Sculpt issues notwithstanding, it's a gorgeous piece and I'm happy I didn't pass on it. And I will say this, even with the issues on some of the figures, I think this No Way Home line is easily one of the best Hot Toys has done to date. Every piece, even the Spideys with their dioramas, just amazing. Maybe the only slight hiccup was the black and gold suit, but every other piece is just eye-catching and by itself could be a centerpiece. So really happy to have him, and now just 3 releases left, right? With the final Battle Goblin, the Toby Spidey, and the final scene Tom Holland. I'm really looking forward to seeing my version of the line come together. So that was a quick look at Doc Ock in 6 scale by Hot Toys from Spider-Man No Way Home. Let me know your thoughts, and as always, thanks for watching. And if you are enjoying the content, please consider dropping a like, comment, or subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.